I will forever die on the hill that Shark Tale was a black cinematic masterpiece, and I'm never gonna sway from that. My boy, I don't know what he done tripped over. He ain't got no feet, so I don't know what happened. Okay, grandmother is no longer with us. Momo's gone. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Deja, and what I do here on this little channel is whatever I feel like. And what I feel like doing today is discussing a movie, a highly controversial, surprisingly controversial movie that I feel like gets a lot of unwarranted flack and hate, especially here on YouTube. And it's just a lot of falsities, you know, surrounding this that people like to push about this movie being a flop, and the audience hating the movie, critics hating the movie, and it being ill perceived. Now, I will not lie, and I'm actually going to get into some of the controversies surrounding this movie. There were like full-on protests and political figures and organizations speaking out. Like, it was a lot of unexpected stuff, which, me being a child at the time, I was probably like 7 or something, I didn't know anything about that. I just knew I loved this movie, and still as an adult I love this movie, and I feel like everybody should give it a fair chance. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, feel free to watch the rest of this video, like, comment, subscribe if you know your little old heart just pushes you to do so. With all of that being said, we're going to go right ahead and get into the video. Today the movie that we are going to be discussing is Shark Tale. It is a 2004 DreamWorks like animated family comedy situation with an all-star cast. Now the plot of the movie is pretty simple. You know, it's the grass isn't always greener type thing. But our main character is Oscar. He's a fish from the Southside Reef with dreams and aspirations of being a somebody who lives at the top of the reef. That's his goal in life. So I think I'm gonna get into the cast just a little bit because it'll make it easier to tell the story, and then also I can make one of my points very early on that this movie is full of A-list actors. Okay, they lended their very famous and talented voices to be a part of this movie right here. Okay, let that sink in, because people like to say it's a flop. Can a movie be a flop with the likes of peak Will Smith as the main character, Oscar? We have Jack Black as Lenny, Renee Zellweger as Angie. Don Lino is voiced by Robert De Niro. The Robert De Niro. Let that sink in. We have Martin Scorsese voicing Mr. Sykes, Angelina Jolie as Lola, and there's so many more, but we're just going to get into them because they're like the key players here, okay? Like I said, all stars, love them all, very impressed, okay? Very impressed. I don't even like Jack Black, but I love him as Lenny. Top notch, okay? Top notch. So, to get into the background of the movie, Oscar, like I said before, has dreams and aspirations of making a name for himself and making it to the top of the reef where all the rich and famous people live. Now, his aspirations were not always so grandiose, okay? His dream originally was to be a well washer like his father, his late father, Earl. He passed on. We don't really get the details on that, but that is something that really stuck with Oscar, and he had a flashback. But instead of his father being there, he has the picture of his dad and his dad's brush that he used at work. And he was telling the class about his dreams of wanting to be a well washer. So we can assume that he lost his dad pretty early on. Sad hood movie, I know. Kids being kids, even when the kids are fish, they're pretty mean, they're pretty ruthless. So of course everybody teases him for wanting to be a well washer. And that, I guess, kind of planted the seed that he needed to strive to be something bigger and better. Not even for himself, but I guess to impress others. And that is pretty much what shaped his idea of success as an adult. So in the opening scenes, we have him going to work. We see him interact with some of the people he works with. We see people picking on him even as an adult, and we find out that he has a best friend named Angie. Angie is a key player in this movie. She comes up a lot. She's pretty. We're gonna get to Angie. We're gonna get to her because I have thoughts, I have opinions. But in Oscar's pursuit of, you know, reaching this superstar status, he has amassed a pretty big amount of debt to his boss, Mr. Sykes. Now, Mr. Sykes is something else. I don't like Mr. Sykes. I don't like him. I never did since I was a kid. He's kind of funny sometimes, but when you think about it, what he was doing to Oscar was pretty messed up. So unbeknownst to Oscar, Mr. Sykes has like some debts that he has to pay off to Don Lino, a great white shark. He's like the head of the mob, big deal, right? He pissed him off. So now he has to start paying Don Lino for protection. And because apparently he doesn't make enough money from this well wash to where he can do that and not be on Oscar's back about paying him back, he basically makes it Oscar's problem. Like, Don Lino's at the top of the food chain, you down here at the bottom, you're a scrub. Okay, so what you're gonna do is pay me back so I can pay him. And if you don't, my little henchmen here are gonna take care of you. Okay, so basically he gets the henchmen to teach Oscar a little bit of a lesson, to let him know, like, I mean business. Give me my $5,000. Yeah, by the way, $5,000 worth of debt that he owes his boss. Now my thing is, you know how much money he makes. You pay him. And you know that he's been taking out advances and taking out loans and all this stuff from his paychecks and everything. So it's just like, you know, he ain't got it. You know, he don't got 5,000, and you're giving him until tomorrow to get you to 5,000. Like, do you want your money or not? Because you ain't gonna get it by tomorrow, baby. I'm so sorry. I don't have it for you. And I feel like Mr. Sykes should have knew that. But like I said, we're not a fan. We're not a fan of him. So Angie's a good friend. So she's listening to Oscar complain about his problem. She's like, I don't know why you get yourself into these situations. What are you thinking? How are you going to get $5,000? And he opens up to her about wanting to make it to the top of the reef and feeling like his life is not good enough. She's more on the side of, well, what's wrong with down here? Kind of like, you know, life is what you make it. You don't have to be rich and famous to be happy. You don't have to be, you know, a superstar to have value. You know, it's about what you want your life to be. And that's a theme that keeps coming up in the movie, obviously. So as they're talking and she's seeing like how upset he is and listening to her very best friend talk about how he feels like he's a nobody and that he doesn't amount to anything and that his life is just sad and depressing and hopeless. He was just so dramatic, child. I couldn't deal with Oscar. He was doing so much. It's like, we're 10 minutes into the movie. Can you relax? Like, pump the brakes, okay? He's laying it on heavy. She's a simp. Let's just be real. But I'm gonna get into that. So basically she's looking to solve all of his problems for him. She's like, you need $5,000. I have this damn family heirloom. Her grandma had a pink pearl, and we can only assume grandmother is no longer with us. Momo's gone, okay? She's not here. So you're over here giving away her pearls, talking about, yeah, pawn this. That should give you the $5,000 that you need to pay back Mr. Sykes, and that way you can move on with your life, you know? So we have to assume that he goes and he pawns it off, because the very next day he shows up at a seahorse racetrack to pay Mr. Sykes the money. Now, I think it's awfully convenient that it came up to exactly $5,000. Like, how did she know it was worth $5,000? But anyways, so he goes to the racetrack to meet Mr. Sykes and give him the money. When he's making his way to find Mr. Sykes, he bumps into some other fish, and he like overhears a part of their conversation where one of them is telling the other like, oh, the race is rigged, so put all of your money on Lucky Day to win this race. So Oscar, mind you, he's ear hustling because wasn't nobody talking to him. You here for something totally different, but apparently my boy got a gambling problem. So he, you know, strolls his way up to the desk, and he's like talking extremely loud in a place full of gamblers. And I can only assume some shady figures, right? And he's like, 5,000 on Lucky Day to win. Why are you screaming? Like, that is valuable information, and y'all are just shouting from the rooftops. You don't know who's listening. Okay, so he's talking to the teller. The teller's talking to him. They're talking so loud, and they're like, oh my God, your chances of winning are like 1,000,000 to 1. He's like, oh, well, I guess just call me Oscar
the Millionaire.
And wouldn't you have it? Cue the music. The one and only gold digger in the entire establishment happened to hear those magic words, and her ears done perked up. So she whips her hair around, and she's twerking and percolating all through the place. Once she heard that millionaire word, it was on. Okay, lights, camera, action. She's into him automatically. So he's not getting no play, as we can see. He ain't got no money. He ain't got no hoes. He ain't got no bread. So he don't get no play. So once he turned around and he see Lola dancing on over to him to like a really great theme song, okay? Like, the music is another one of the things that I feel like just does not get enough respect. This soundtrack for this movie, a kid's movie, mind you, it's too good. It's too good. Which is why I will forever die on the hill that Shark Tale was a Black cinematic masterpiece, and I'm never gonna sway from that, because the hip hop and R&B hits that's in this movie, you know what? Anyways, Lola's working her magic, and she introduces herself, and he's stumbling over his words. He's all nervous. He just can't get it together because, like I said, he don't get no attention. Okay, so, well, actually he does. but he don't care about that attention. He wants this attention. So he has Lola's attention, and basically he's playing into this whole, you know, being a millionaire thing. She assumes, and he does not correct her. So when Mr. Sykes finds him and he's talking to Oscar all crazy like, I've been looking for you everywhere. Where the hell is my money? Lola has known this man for 2.7 seconds, and she feels the need to speak up on his behalf and be like, oh, well, he just placed a $5,000 bet on Lucky Day. I think he can afford whatever he wants. Baby, how would you know? You don't know him. So she done blew up the spot. Sykes is mad because he's like, you had my money and you bet it. What sense does that make? And I gotta agree. I don't like Sykes, but I gotta agree. Because why would you do that when you didn't even have anything of value of your own to pawn off to be able to get the money for this? You had to take a family heirloom from your friend to be able to pawn it and get the money to pay this man. And you're going to go ahead and bet it just because you was listening a little too hard and heard a little piece of information that you thought was valuable to you? Okay, Oscar. So Sykes is like, come here, come with me. Sit right here so I can keep an eye on you. And we're going to watch this little race, and your horse, he better win. Lucky Day, my boy is having a hard time breaking out of the gate. Okay, so Oscar's getting all nervous. He's like, oh, he's playing around. He do this all the time. No big deal. He's joking. You know, that's his signature move. That's what he does. Sykes is looking at him like, Okay, so he finally breaks out of the gate and he starts gaining speed on everybody. He makes his way to the front. It's looking good. They start celebrating a little bit too early though, because my boy, I don't know what he done tripped over. He ain't got no feet. So I don't know what happened. Okay. His tail isn't even touching the ground in this race. So I truly do not understand what happened. But he gets tripped up some type of way and he loses the race, like right at the finish line. And it's a super dramatic, like tumble and roll situation. Like it's bad. It's really bad. He loses and Sykes loses his cool. He tells his henchmen, Ernie and Bernie, by the way, that's their names. I don't know if I said that. But he tells them, like, take him out to the middle of nowhere, dig a hole, dig it even deeper, put him in it. I don't care what you do to him before that. They do just that. They have him out here getting ready to do who knows what to Oscar. Okay, now in the meantime, we have two sharks that are out on a mission of their own. Now, Don Lino is the head of the mob family of great white sharks. He has two sons. One is named Frankie and the other is named Lenny. Lenny is voiced by Jack Black and Frankie is voiced by Michael Imperioli. Now, if you do not know who that is just by ear, that is Christopher from The Sopranos, okay? Just this movie, the casting is just... it's like nothing I've ever seen before or since. Okay, it's just too good. It's too perfect. So, Frankie is the one who's basically like a mobster's dream of a son. Okay, he does what you tell him to do. He's rough. He's tough. He's rugged. Okay, he's scary looking. His demeanor is very different than his brother's. It's very different from his brother. Okay, Lenny is, first of all, a vegetarian. He does not kill fish. He does not eat fish. He does not fight. He's not rude. He's like a little more timid. He's, you know, he's not like other sharks. So this mission is basically to impress their father and convince him that Lenny can be a real shark. So Frankie's just like, hey, do what you gotta do. Find your little fish, hunt it, eat it, tell dad about it. Bada bing, bada boom, you're a shark. Everybody's happy. No, I'm not trying to be funny. Because they're in the mob. He literally said, bada bing, bada boom, pop's happy. Chef's kiss. Okay. So, what do you know? They're out here on this mission while there's basically a TV dinner right here ready, all tied up and packaged and ready to go. He don't even got to hunt him because he's tied up, so he can't move. So they happen across this scene with Oscar, and Frankie's basically telling him, like, look, that's perfect. You don't got to do anything. Just go ahead, swoop right over there and eat him. Lenny's refusing at first. He's like, nah, I really don't. I'm not into the whole fish eating thing, you know. He's like, well, you can stay your ass out here because I'm gonna go home. You don't gotta come home because if you don't do this, you can't come home anyways. So what are you gonna do? So he swims over. He's getting all nervous and stuff, and Oscar, he doesn't know what's happening behind him, but the henchmen catch a glimpse of a shark headed right towards them. So they abandon ship. They leave Oscar out there high and dry. Okay. So Lenny swims up behind Oscar and he like attempts to eat him, but it doesn't work because he's just not into it. So Oscar starts freaking out. He's begging him like, please don't eat me, please don't eat me. And Lenny's like, look, I'm a vegetarian, so you don't got to worry about that. But what I can do, I can let you go. You can get out of here, and my brother's going to think I ate you because you're going to be gone when I turn around. So he cuts him loose, and for whatever reason, Oscar didn't move. He didn't listen. So Frankie catches a glimpse of that, and he starts charging at him. He's like, you know what? My appetite done picked up a little bit because you're pissing me off. So he swims right on over there, and he's planning on eating Oscar. But as soon as he's just about to catch him, an anchor falls and lands on Frankie, and there's no more Frankie. He has a few final words with his brother, Lenny.
Moron. Frankie.
Where he is still incredibly rude to him. But Lenny is having a meltdown, okay? Lenny is distraught. Lenny is dramaed out, and I love every second of it.
No!
Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Jack Black, but his work as Lenny is just too good, and you just have to see it for yourself. So if you have not seen this movie, just please give it a chance because it's so good. I really love it. So he has a little breakdown and he flees the scene. He's distraught. He runs away because he's like, oh no, what's dad gonna think? And he leaves. Okay. Oscar, being Oscar, he gets scared, and once he sees that Frankie is actually dead, then he does a very Will Smith type thing where he's doing like these fake karate moves and karate chops and noises and stuff. And the jellyfish, as they were fleeing, I guess they had gotten far enough away to where they couldn't see what was happening, but they heard the commotion of the anchor fall. So they make their way back over, I guess, to see what's left of Oscar, if anything, child. And when they get there, they see him doing all these little karate moves and stuff. And they're just like, Oscar, did you kill that shark? And he's just like, you know what? Hell yeah, I did. I did do that. So, of course, news travels fast. On the South Side Reef, they have the news people out there. They have like all of the employees of the Whale Wash. They have everybody from around town in the neighborhood and everything like that that's shown their face to hear Oscar tell this story. We can assume he's told the story at least once, twice, maybe 3 times, because Angie knows it word for word. Okay, my girl is sitting back there fangirling like this is her man or something. And it's crazy because he never gave you an ounce of hope that that's what was going on here. But she is his biggest fan. She is so hyped. She can't believe what's happening. Sykes, he decides that he wants to be Oscar's manager and that they're going to start calling him the Shark Slayer. Now, what pisses me off about the fact that Sykes becomes Oscar's manager is like, the only reason I was out there was because you wanted to kill me. So you're essentially paying this person to now manage your life when they were ready to end it like an hour ago.
Instantly, I was like, yeah, no.
50-50 partners at that. Sykes' original deal to him was like, oh, I'm thinking 90-10. You know, I'm 90, you take your 10 off the top. Huh? I'm sorry, what? Then they work it down to 50-50 and somehow they're like, yeah, this works. Absolutely not. So from that point forward, that's like a straight shot to the top of the reef. Okay, you walking around here slaying sharks. Oh yeah, you are the man. You can live wherever you want. So he shoots up to the top of the reef. You know, we have another really great song by Mary J. Blige playing. He's living in a penthouse. I think it's the very penthouse that he was like fantasizing about at the beginning of the movie. He's on billboards, magazine covers, he's on TV, he's got deals with like Pepsi and stuff like that. Like, it's a full-on like life transformation. Don Lino sends everybody out on a little manhunt to find Lenny because he doesn't know where Lenny is. He just knows Frankie's dead, Lenny's missing, and the Shark Slayer is responsible. So he wants everybody to band together and to find him. Meanwhile, Oscar is up at his penthouse partying with Lola, friend-zoning the fuck out of Angie once again. Somebody runs in and they're just like, oh, there's sharks at the bottom of the reef, there's sharks at the bottom of the reef. Oscar done forgot his role already because he starts freaking out along with everybody else, talking about go home and enjoy the rest of the time that you have with your loved ones, hug them close, you know. And everybody's looking at him like, no, you can go out there and handle that because that's your job now. Go handle that. Take care of that immediately. Okay. So he goes out there to find the sharks and slay them. Okay. Now he manages to stumble across Lenny because Lenny is hiding nearby. And they basically get to talking, and then Lenny hears some of the kids in the neighborhood talking about, oh, Oscar is the shark slayer, blah, blah, blah. So Lenny starts to put two and two together that Oscar has taken credit for Frankie's death, and he's amassed all this fame and power and money and stuff like that off of a lie. So when Oscar doesn't agree to help him find a place to hide from his father and the rest of the mob, he basically threatens Oscar like, oh yeah, sure, I'll go home, and if somebody should find out the truth on my way, then that's on you. So Oscar has a sudden change of heart, and he takes him somewhere to hide. And I basically assume that this is his old place that he lived at before he made it to the top of the reef. They never really explain it, but we could just assume that. It's not long before Angie comes across Lenny at Oscar's old place, and he tells her the truth. We didn't get to see this interaction, but we pretty much assume that it's similar to his interactions with Oscar, like being startled at first, like, ah, it's a shark, and then he starts talking, and it's like, I'm a vegetarian, don't worry, girl. Okay, so yeah, they become friends, and one day Oscar is going there to check on Lenny, and that's when he finds Angie there, and he has to come clean. Now, she automatically is like, this is a horrible idea. I don't know how you think you're going to get away with this, why you thought this was a good idea to lie about something like that in the first place. And he's just like, yeah, I know it was a bad idea, but what you don't realize is that his dad is Don Lino, and now they're coming to get me. Like, everybody's out for my head. Angie, what am I gonna do? She's like, tell the truth. And Lenny, go home. Like, simple, easy peasy, problem solved. They literally laugh in my girl's face. They laugh at her face like, no. But this is what we're gonna do. Oscar comes up with a plan, basically to stage a fight with Lenny and make it seem like he slayed him as well. I see plenty flaw in this plan, but for some reason they feel like, oh, it's a win-win situation because you get to disappear, I still get to be a shark slayer, and then your daddy knows not to play with me. Shaky at best. Okay, but that's what they going with. Angie's like, look, I can't convince y'all to not do this. Just know that I don't approve. And she goes about her business. So the next thing that we see is that Angie's at work and the TV is on behind her, and then all of a sudden there's this big thing going on with, Oscar the Shark Slayer is about to take down a shark for everybody to see on camera. How convenient. She's over it. She's annoyed because she knows it's not true, and she was like so proud of Oscar, and obviously, like I said, she was his biggest cheerleader. So she's disappointed in the fact that he's choosing to continue to be dishonest, even though she's like, this is not a good idea, this can go horribly wrong. So they stage the whole fight basically. Lenny gets slayed, and then Don Lino's henchmen are actually there to witness what was going on, and Oscar is talking trash basically like, oh, go tell your little partner what I did to his son and let him know, don't play with your boy. Okay. Like I said, a horrible idea, but that's what he did. After the whole staged fight is over, this is on TV. Okay. Lola swims her little thirsty ass over there, and she plants a big kiss on Oscar for the whole world to see. Angie, like I said, is at work watching this all happen on TV, so she's devastated. She leaves work early. My girl didn't clock out or nothing. She just left. Fed up. Feelings hurt. Heart broken. And I fell for her. I did. After Angie leaves work, they all meet back up at Oscar's old place. Angie, Lenny, Oscar, they're all sitting there, and Oscar thinks everything's cool. He just got kissed by a girl that he thinks likes him. Lenny is in the background working on his disguise because I guess he's gonna disguise himself as a dolphin named Sebastian for the rest of his days, child. Like, I don't know if you're gonna wake up and do that every day, Lenny. I wouldn't. But that's his plan. Okay. Oscar and Angie are going back and forth, and they end up having like a little bit of an argument where she basically, by the end of it, discloses that she's in love with Oscar and she's been in love with him. Like, you didn't have to become famous for me to give you a chance. This girl isn't really interested in you. She's just interested in what she can get from you and what she has to gain from you being who you are now. But I loved you all along. And it's a really heartbreaking, sad scene. And we get another great song by India Arie where Oscar's just thinking about everything. And he's looking at all of his accolades now and the billboards and the penthouse and all the people. And, he's just looking at it and like, wow, she's kind of right. I did have a lot going for myself. Like, this is cool to be, living at the top of the reef and everything. But Angie's a real one. And I had her all along. So he gets back to his place and Lola is there waiting for him. along with a bunch of other people for some odd reason. And basically he dumps her, and she does not take that well.
Ha! Young love.
Presumably the next day he goes and he's planning on telling Angie that he loves her. He has balloons, chocolates, roses, the works, child. He's about to lay it on real thick. And as an adult, I don't like that. Give it some time. Okay, this is the next day. You just had a girlfriend a couple hours ago. Now you in love with me? All of a sudden, out of here. But anyways, he makes it back to the well wash expecting to find Angie there. She's not there. What he does find is a phone call waiting for him, and the pink pearl that he had turned into a necklace waiting there at her desk. And that's a message from Don Lino, from one of his henchmen on the phone, basically saying like, you have to come and have a sit down with us because you got out of hand and you tried to embarrass me. So come and get your friend if you care about her for real. Lenny has a little bit of a reaction to that because he's like, I can't go there and go to this sit down because my dad's gonna recognize me. Sykes hears this, and that's when it clicks for him like, oh my God, that's Lenny. That's Lenny. That's the Don's son. We're all gonna die. So they're panicking, but they're like, we have to go to this sit down. Oscar anyway is like, we have to go to this sit down. So they do. And naturally, Oscar is being himself, playing into the bit just way too much, playing with people's lives, if you ask me. He's making jokes out of the situation and trying to intimidate people on purpose. Somebody faints. Like, he's just doing a lot, not helping the situation at all. So when Don Lino comes in, he's basically like, wow, nice to finally meet the person who's trying to destroy my life for literally no reason. He brings Angie out as a bargaining chip, and Oscar tries to play it up as if like, oh, I barely even know that girl. What's your name? Lola comes out of the shadows, and she blows up his spot like, oh, he's bluffing. He absolutely knows who she is. Okay. But to prove that Angie's no one to him, he doesn't care, he has Sebastian, which is Lenny, disguised as a damn dolphin, to take Angie out. So he swims across the table and he eats her. Now, as I've mentioned a few times, Lenny is a vegetarian. So no, he is not about to actually eat Angie. He's just holding her in his mouth so that they can make their exit. Naturally, Oscar gets carried away. He's on the table. He's in people's faces. He's dancing. He even tells Don Lino straight to his face like, oh, it's over for you. You done. You lost. You cooked. Okay? And I feel like, why did he do that? He just did so much for no reason, because it's just like, you know what your plan is. Can we stick to the plan and get out of here? Like, you would have did better being like, little quick short message to Don Lino, like, yeah, both of your sons is dead, and now so is your career. I'm gone. Like, make a quick exit. Why are you dragging this out? Lenny ends up just gagging up Angie and a few other things all over the table, and he's freaking out. He's like, oh, the taste, I can't take it, blah blah blah, you know, making a scene because he's a vegetarian and he feels violated. So his dad recognizes his voice, and he's like, Lenny, is that you? Why are you dressed up like a dolphin? What's going on here? So then Oscar tries to pipe up, and he's like, oh, sir, let me explain. He's like, no, because what the hell did I do to you? You done killed one of my sons, and now you done turned the other one into a dolphin? What's really going on here? A chase ensues. He is out for blood. He is ready to kill Oscar. They swim all over the reef, and they end up back at the well wash. Within all of the nonsense and the mess that's going on, both Don Lino and Lenny get trapped in like some contraptions at the well wash, and Oscar has the opportunity to try to like get everybody to stop and listen, but everyone's celebrating because they're like, oh, he got 2 sharks. He trapped 2 sharks. And Angie gets lost in the shuffle, and with the fear of losing her mounting and building up in his little old chest, he's like, stop, I'm not a real shark slayer. So he tells the truth. He's like, I lied. I did not kill Frankie. All of that was an accident. I didn't hurt Lenny. Obviously, he's here. He left home because you didn't love him and accept him as he is. And honestly, I feel like all sharks should be like Lenny. You should accept him. You should love him just like we do. So that melts Don Lino's heart, and he's like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I love my son. Get me out of this machine so that I can hug my kid. And also, the beef is squashed. The reef is safe. Y'all don't got to worry about us no more. We good. We cool. Oscar realizes how he had been really selfish, and how, you know, the lies were not worth the bonds and things that he was breaking and losing. And he wasn't ever actually unhappy with his life in the reef, he wanted other people to think more of him. So that's why he was striving for the greatness of living at the top of the reef and being a somebody. So he realizes now, like, being at the bottom of the reef is not so bad. He gets Angie. Him and Mr. Sykes go into business together. So he now is a co-owner of the Whale Wash, which I feel is the least you could do, because he made you his manager and was giving you 50% of his earnings. Yeah, you better give him something. Okay, so they're partners. So now it's Sykes and Oscar's Whale Wash. Cool. And we ended with the clientele booming, because we now have the sharks and the killer whales and the octopus and all of that stuff. Everybody's going there to get their airbrush jobs done, and you know, the business is good. Everybody's happy, and we're gonna end out on a lovely rendition of Car Wash by Missy Elliott and Christina Aguilera. And when I tell you, this fish that looks like Missy Elliott with that little cut, oh, too much. I love it too much. Okay, so that song is a perfect segue into one of my favorite things about this movie, which is the soundtrack. I'm gonna discuss like the producers first, because they had some really top-notch producers, and it's a lot to read, so I wrote some of this down. But we have producers like Timbaland. He's all up and through this. Okay, Timbaland, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, Ron Fair, The Underdog, Dre and Vidal. Then we also have track stars, and then Hans Zimmer is a composer, and he composed the original score for movies like The Lion King, the original, like, I think it's like 1994 that movie came out. Dune, Gladiator, the original Gladiator. I don't know about that new one. Pirates of the Caribbean, and the Dark Knight trilogy, and a bunch of other stuff. So again, this goes to show, like, people saying this movie is a flop and that it was trash and it was low budget. No, it was not. Okay, it was not. And we're going to get into the budget as a matter of fact. But like I said, we're going to talk about the artists who performed as well. We got Sean Paul and Ziggy Marley, Justin Timberlake and Timbaland, JoJo, D12, Mary J. Blige, and Will Smith had a song together. Avant. That's so black. You cannot tell me that this is not a black movie. Ludacris and Bobby Valentino, India Ivory, and the Pussycat Dolls. In 2004, you want to talk about low budget? Nothing low budget about this one, baby. Okay, because the budget for this movie was $75 million. In 2004. $75 million. And it performed really well at the box office, actually. Despite what people try to say, it performed very well. They made $374.6 million at the box office. Now, does that sound like a flop to you? Me either. Also, it was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the 77th Academy Awards. It did not win, but when you hear who the competition was, you kind of understand it and you're not really mad about it, because it lost to The Incredibles. But Shrek 2 was also in that same category and lost as well. Now, I don't know about you guys. I like The Incredibles. I was a kid in the early 2000s. And I love The Incredibles, but Shrek 2 should have beat that out. If Shark Tale was going to lose, Shrek 2 should have won. But Incredibles is Disney, so we not mad. We not mad. Incredibles is good, and Incredibles is Disney, so we're not going to hate too much. But yeah, Shrek is another masterpiece that I feel like gets kind of disrespected now for some odd reason. But overall, it received kind of mixed reviews. Like, the critics and the audiences were kind of like split on it. Some people gave it like as high as an A-, and other people gave it like a C-. But there was no like 0-star ratings of people just straight up hating the movie. I think a lot of the confusion that came in was, well, I know for a fact a lot of the confusion that came in was Finding Nemo came out the year prior to this movie. So a lot of people felt like it was trying to bite off of Nemo. But if you watch Nemo and you watch Shark Tale, they're nothing alike. They're just so happen to be about fish. But if you were a kid at the time that I was a kid, talking animals, talking babies, talking food, Veggie Tales, Baby Geniuses, like everybody was talking. Like everyone and everything was talking back then. Like, I thought that was always a thing. But apparently they act like Nemo was the first talking fish ever, and you're not allowed to do it ever since. But I like both movies for very different reasons. I feel like Shark Tale has better like rewatchability for me because I like a good comedy and you get like real laughs. Even as an adult, like there's funny stuff in that movie. So some of the controversy with this movie was the reception by some of the Italian American audiences. They did not appreciate the fact that the antagonists were mobsters, which in all fairness, they were described as the mob. They never said they were Italian American, but obviously in America we have a certain depiction of the mob that we portray. And I also want to make it abundantly clear, if it's not obvious, I'm not Italian American, so I can't say how they're supposed to feel. But it did go pretty far with like politicians speaking out in protest and things actually being enforced. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But Black people are portrayed as the antagonists all the time, and nobody bats an eye. And nobody's accusing all Italian Americans of being in the mob. So I really don't understand like where they were going with that. And I keep stressing Italian American because the movie actually premiered in Italy and they liked it. Like it premiered at a film festival in Italy and they liked it. They didn't have an issue with it. It's the Italian American politicians that had a problem with the portrayal. So I'm gonna just leave that there because like I said, who am I? I'm not Italian American, so I don't know how they're supposed to feel. But as somebody who is Black and we get portrayed as the antagonist all the time, I'm not seeing the issue. But anyways, that's what their problem was. And then there was also a Christian conservative organization accusing the movie of trying to brainwash children into supporting gay rights, because obviously, even as a kid, I picked up on the fact that Lenny is gay. Like, they say vegetarian, but it's like, if you know anything about anything, he's gay, okay? And I will say, like, I feel everybody's entitled to their opinion on what children should and should not be exposed to. But as somebody who grew up in the era that I did, and then also in a place like I did, my introduction to gayness was not Shark Tale. I knew what gay people were, which is why I can say as a kid, even I picked up on the fact that they're saying, oh, he's different because he's a vegetarian. But the difference could be anything. You don't treat people different just because they eat different things, wear different things, look different than you, they like different things. And obviously, with our adult brains, we can be like, oh, so he's gay. I feel like it doesn't make or break the movie. And if that's how they felt about it, that's how they felt about it. But it's not a bad lesson. Like, just mind your business and be nice to people. It doesn't really matter. I feel like it doesn't matter because people are gonna do what they want to do anyway. Like, and it's not an end of the world type thing. Like, people be gay sometimes. Just mind your business and be nice. Move on. So yeah, another thing that I thought was really interesting about this, like I said, I didn't get into the entire cast because there's so many people in it. But Katie Couric from the Today Show back in the day, I don't know what was good back then, but she was popular because I was a kid and I knew who she was. She did the voice of Katie Couric in the movie. And I thought it was really cool when I was doing my research that they said that they adjusted who the journalist was and what the character's name was based on different regions. Like, just because Katie Couric was here and she was popular doesn't mean that everybody around the world would be like, oh my god, Katie Couric, they made her into a fish, you know? So in Australia, Britain, and the Italian versions, they used popular journalists from, you know, those areas to portray the journalist character in the movie. And I thought that was a really nice touch because I don't think people take that much time even today when making things to pay that close attention to detail. So I just really appreciated that fact. And on that note, we are going to sign off on this one, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed. I really, really do, because it took me like 3 times to record this video. It was supposed to be out weeks ago and I just could not get it together. So like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is that you want to do. If you have a movie that you love that other people don't like so much, leave it down in the comments. We could talk about it. If you have any other topics or discussions that you want to have, go ahead and let me know and we can make that happen, because I have tons of opinions and this is my channel, so I can do whatever I want to do over here. Okay, leave a comment and we'll talk about it. you.